And welcome to the weekly Industry 4.0 community podcast put together by 4.0 Solutions. I am your host, Walker D. Reynolds. We are actually not live. This is pre-recorded because this is the week of Thanksgiving. So while I'm filming this on Monday morning, November 21, 2022, this podcast is for Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, 11/22/22. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope everyone has a great, those of you in the States, those of you in Canada who celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday, I hope you guys have a great holiday week. I'm going to talk about it here in a quick second. Topics today. So we're going to talk about Thanksgiving a little bit. We're going to talk about what our plans are for December and January. Some big announcements coming up December and January, kind of putting a bow on 2022 in December for the IIoT.University Industry 4.0 community. Kind of some stuff we're kicking off in January. And then I'm going to be answering comments on a lot of videos. So some of the topics that we're going to be covering, OPC UA and the Unified Namespace. We're going to be talking about the attitudes of some departments when you're doing digital transformation. That kind of, I think I got 6 or 7 comments in here I'm going to respond to, and then just sort of go where the conversation takes us. But let me start with this. So today is November 22nd. Well, you'll be watching this on November 22nd, 2022. So November 22 is famous for 2 reasons. Number one, it's famous for JFK's assassination. So John F. Kennedy was killed on November 22nd, 1963. One of my favorite books ever written is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. If you haven't read it, highly recommend you read it. I've read it about, maybe 10 times. I've listened to the audiobook. I just love it. I think Amazon or Hulu or somebody did a mini series for it. I wasn't a huge fan of that, the long form version, but I didn't dislike it. I just don't like it as much as I like the book, and that's generally my overall feeling. Number 2, though, November 22nd is actually the birthday of a girl I went to high school with, or actually I went to school with. And was one of my best friends, and to this day is still one of my best friends, even though I talk to her once a decade or something. But and it always stands out, November 22nd. And it made me think about this. I was talking to my kids about this the other day. So someone had asked me, everybody knows I went through a divorce and everything, and I still care deeply for my ex-wife, and we're as amicable as we could possibly be, and I still love her very much, and but when you go through when you go through big milestones in your life, you often look back at your life. You should be doing this anyway. You should be generally measuring your progress against your goals, your life goals. But you tend, when you go through a big milestone, like when you get married or when you have children or when you graduate from college or you're changing jobs, say you got laid off from an organization and you're looking for another job, that kind of thing, you tend to look backward on your life. And I remember I don't generally look back very often other than to kind of learn, to kind of measure whether or not I learned from the mistakes I've made, like the failures. Did I learn from those failures? Did I repeat failures over and over and over again? That kind of thing. I generally don't look back. And the reason why is, and I don't remember where this comment came from, but someone once said, depression is when you live in the past, anxiety is when you live in the future, and contentment is when you live in the now, right? That doesn't mean live in the now with irrespective of the past or irrespective of the future. But if you're generally a content person, it generally means you're living now. You're living in the moment. Your headspace is in the moment. You're focused on your goals now. You're not dwelling on the past, which would make you depressed. You're not worried about the future, which would make you anxious. You're in the moment, right? So I generally don't look back for that reason. I'm generally focusing on the now, and it serves me really, really well. I mean, as a leader, when people ask me how can I handle the high pressure situations, how can you, when you're going head to head with like really powerful people, and they control millions of dollars and the livelihood of your organization if you don't make them happy, or how do you handle the pressure of making tough decisions where if you make the wrong choice, it could cost people their jobs, that kind of stuff? The answer is because I'm focused in the now. I'm focused on the actual problem. I'm not focused on the likely outcome. And I'm not worried about whether or not I made the wrong decision in the past before. I'm really focused in the moment right now, and I'm trying to absorb the data and then make the optimal decision. But one of the things when I was going through, actually going through the divorce, I was a period when I looked back at my life, and I had lots of conversations with my kids and stuff about this. And, we had a conversation about like, what is love, with my children, like what is actually love. And one of the things that I've always said in my life is, I promise there's a purpose to this, and there's a lesson here people can learn from. One of the things I used to say is it used to always blow my mind when I'd be traveling, and especially like in Philadelphia. For those of you who have ever flown through Philadelphia, if you fly out of the F terminal, which is, I think it's the F terminal, it's like the regional terminal. You'll like fly into Philly in one of the big terminals. And then if you're going to fly into one of the regional airports, say you're going to go from Philadelphia into upstate, into one of the smaller, upstate New York, into one of the smaller airports, you're going to fly to like Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, or you're going to fly somewhere in Jersey or whatever, you're going to be on a really small plane. And that's going to fly out of the F terminal. And the F terminal is like off out of the middle of nowhere, right? So you generally ride a shuttle over to the F terminal from the main terminal. And one of the things that always blew my mind is it happened like 6 times in a row while I was flying out of Philly. I would be sitting in the back of the bus, in the very back, looking out over all the people on that bus. And I used to think, this is the only 4 or 5 minutes I'll ever be exposed to these people on this bus in my whole life. This is the only 4 or 5 minutes I'll ever be exposed to them. And every one of them has a story. Every one of them has a family. Every one of them has a set of beliefs. Every one of them has a life's goal and a mission. But if I wanted to really deeply connect to these people right now, I have 4 or 5 minutes to try and achieve it. And I used to think that all the time. I can't tell you the name of one person on that bus, on any of the times I've been on that shuttle. But I've thought that concept 6, 7, 8 times. But I can tell you about the time that I ran into David Brooks, who's a columnist for the New York Times. He's one of my heroes, actually. He does he's on the PBS NewsHour on Fridays. He's an example of a guy who learned from his mistakes and adopted a worldview that was much more practical and built on human nature and stuff. He wrote a couple of my favorite books, Bobo's in Paradise, The Second Mountain. But I could tell you about the time I had the conversation with him. But he probably can't. He probably doesn't remember me at all. The reason I bring this up is what I used to say to my kids is that we run into hundreds. How do you know, like, what is love? Like, how do you know love? And I used to say, well, the way I used to describe it was, we run into 100,000 people in our life, or more than that. We come into contact with, say, 100,000 people, probably more. And of that 100,000 people, how many of them do you find attractive? That is, for some reason you want to talk to them more than just having them walk by you, right? What percentage? And my gut would say it's somewhere between 100 and 1,000. So between 0.1% and 1%. And of those 0.1% and 1% to 0.1% to 1% of people that you might want to have further conversations with, okay, how many of them actually move you? Like, just move you to the, whatever. That is, this is a person I want to make sure I want to keep them in my circle for as long as I possibly can, possibly my entire life. Maybe 5 people total. So 5 out of 100,000, right? That's love. That's what I used to tell my kids. I would say love is that 5 people. The one of the important messages was about love. If you read the description of love, is it's the deep affection for someone, and being in love is a willingness to sacrifice in the name of that affection. Right? That's being in love. Love is deep affection for someone, and being in love is willing to sacrifice for that. Okay? So when you say I love you but I'm not in love with you, what you mean is I have affection for you but I'm not willing to sacrifice for you anymore. Right? That's the difference. Now, the reason I bring this up is, okay, there's a point, I promise you. This is the way my brain operates. All day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I read the definitions of words. I read the etymology. I don't know why I am that way. Okay, but I have an inkling. Okay, and this is an insight into me and how I operate. But I've always I hate not knowing something, and so I spend so much time studying my craft, studying the technology, studying sociology. You hear we talk about lots and lots of subjects on this podcast. I don't just talk about the technical elements. And the reason why is if you were to only study the technical elements and you don't study any of the elements about individual humans, the psychology of human beings, if you don't study the survival instinct of human beings, if you don't understand the sociology, that is the study of large groups of people, okay, if you don't study the sociology, if you don't study occupational psychology, if you don't study management philosophies, if you don't study finance and economics, if you don't have at least cursory knowledge across all those disciplines plus others, and you only talked about the technology as it relates to digital transformation, you'd be missing 90% of the stuff that you need to know. And so one of the comments that we get the most, I'm going to read one today. One of the comments we get in the YouTube channel the most is, you're a really good presenter. You're a really good teacher. You're really good at taking complex stuff and breaking it down into terms that the layman can understand. The reason I think, is really just 3 things. Number one, I feel like I have a skill at taking what's in my head and translating it into words. Okay. So I can communicate what's in my head, and not everyone can do that. There are a lot of people who have it here, but can't get it to here. Number 2, I do study the world. I do study my craft. I'm humility is knowing what you're good at, what you're not good at. Surround yourself with people who are good at the things that you're not. Become a master at the things you're good at. I do study my craft so that I am a master at the subjects, the things I'm good at. Okay. And the third thing is I study a broad spectrum of topics. So a lot of what I'm applying occupational psychology, and I'm applying leadership skills, and I'm applying psychology and sociological elements. The reason I bring this up is we're going to be talking about psychology and sociology and policy a little bit more in 2023, because we're going to be talking a lot more about ESG from the World Economic Forum, like as it relates to digital transformation. If we look at the digital supply chain, if we look at, why digital transformation matters, okay. If we look at how we get organizations to adopt digital strategies, a big focus of this is going to be on ESG in 2023. Environment, social, governance. Okay. There's no way for me to teach those elements if I'm not talking about the sociology, the psychology, and the policy. Okay. So that's why I bring it up. And I feel like I'm uniquely positioned, hopefully, to teach on these subjects because of how I've approached my life. Which brings me to my last point. November 22nd, 2022 there's this girl, Gretchen, I grew up with. today's her birthday. I don't remember anybody's birthday. Okay. I don't, I mean, there are very few. There are key dates that ring true in my life. February 16th every year is the anniversary of my mom's death. Every year on February 16th, I write a blog post or I do a video about domestic violence, and I check out on that day. For whatever reason, that's an emotional day for me. It always is. Even if on February 15th, I'm totally fine. And February 17th, I'm totally fine. February 16th, I'm not. I don't know why. So February 16th means something. Okay. The birthdays of all my kids mean something. Okay. So my children's birthdays, they mean something. The birthdays of my siblings, they don't matter to me. The birthdays of my parents don't matter to me. Primarily because we grew up not really caring about birthdays that much. I mean, it's just not a big deal. My own birthday doesn't mean anything to me. I try, if I remember my siblings' birthdays, great. I send it to them. It doesn't mean I don't love them. I do love them. It's just not important because I know their birthday isn't important to them either. But this girl, Gretchen, and people I went to high school with and stuff are not surprised that I'm touching on this. Her birthday is November 22nd, and 11/22/22. That's a pretty interesting. And I want to say, Gretchen played a huge. She's one of my best friends in the whole world in terms of. I think if I was in really, really super trouble, she's probably one of the people I'd reach out to. And the last time I talked to her was, at a high school reunion, maybe 10 years ago or so. She's one of those few people in your life where they're just, she's indelibly imprinted on my life. And there was never a romantic thing or nothing like that. It was just, she played a huge role in turning me into who I am. And I talk about a lot of the people who had a huge impact on my life. I have mentors who I still talk to this day. I talk about, the impact that this guy, Joe Rolfe at Cargill, had on me, the guy who discovered me, the impact that Mary Emily Slate, who was the general manager at Nucor Steel, who had on me, and many other mentors who have been mentors in my life. I talk about the impact, the impact that my father's had on me. But I've never talked about this girl, Gretchen. And the reason why I never bring her up is the impact that she had on me was two things. Number one, I was a poor kid. She was from a really, her father was a professor at Cornell. Her dad played football at Cornell. I mean, she's from like a very, elite family. All of her siblings went to Ivy League schools, just super, super high performing family, but really good people. When I learned from Gretchen was a couple of things. Number one, her work ethic. So Gretchen graduated valedictorian in our class. She was also an elite athlete, and she was also incredibly kind and gave me a lot of guidance in my life. A lot. Number one, she accepted me. I was a super poor kid. Gretchen was not a poor kid, and I went to a really affluent high school. And, people knowing that Gretchen and I were really close friends protected me as a poor kid, a have-not. And so her level of kindness in her friendship to me played a huge role in who I am. Also, how she held me accountable. So Gretchen was a super high performer, and she used to tell me all the time that I was an underachiever. Like in middle school, she would say, Walker, you're so smart. You're an underachiever. You need to do something with that brain of yours. She would say this over and over and over again. I'm telling you right now, I'm saying this stuff publicly for the first time in a really, really long time. Actually, I've never said it publicly, and I don't generally talk about this. The reason I bring it up, it's her birthday, and I want to give her the greatest gift I can possibly give her. So I appreciate you bearing with me here. All the nice comments that you guys put in the YouTube chat and the emails and DMs and I've touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, and tens of thousands of people have reached out to me to say thank you. You changed my career. You changed my life. And I would be remiss if I didn't give Gretchen credit. She's one of many, but if I didn't give Gretchen some credit for the impact I've had on the world. Okay. So on this day, November 22nd, 2022, which is 11/22/22, I, I ask you to say a prayer in your head. Hey, Gretchen, happy birthday. And thank you for being such a good friend to Walker. All right. With that, let's move. I'll just say this. I still remember to this day the first time I met her in the second grade, sitting on the reading carpet, right? The impact that a single person can have on the life of another is profound. And there's some things I'm going to talk about later in the podcast about where I have faith in people. Okay, I'm not a cynic when it comes to humanity. I have faith in people. And that faith is founded, funded, and supported in experience, my own personal experience. And Gretchen just happens to be one of those people who had the biggest impact on my life. And I'm sure even to this day, she doesn't, she probably doesn't know it. And I'm sure what I want you to do is who are the people in your life who have had that impact? But more importantly, who are the people in your life that you're having that impact on? Okay. All right. Long-winded, but it's Thanksgiving week. We want to give thanks, right? Quick announcements. The next mentorship meeting is December 9th, Friday, December 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning. In our last session, we went over namespaces, specifically designing and building a data type. We will be continuing that discussion on designing and building data types. We're actually going to build, in 1 hour, we're going to build a data type from scratch for your unified namespace. Next mastermind call is December 16th at 8 o'clock in the morning. In our last session, which we just had last week, we went over disruptive and transformative leadership. We actually used an example of disruptive and transformative leadership, an application. We went over the second mountain. We had a sociological discussion about the second mountain, about how everyone climbs two mountains in their lives, not just people, but organizations. Organizations are people. You climb the first mountain, which is your own viability, your own education, your own minimum needs. And the second mountain is when you take the assets that you've developed, the value you've created, and you pass it on to others. Okay. We did a project example. So we went through an example of using disruptive leadership at the beginning of a project, standing our ground on principles, waiting for the client to, make the mistakes that they're going to make. Then they call you back, and then you come in and you fix it. So we gave an example of that. I went through that example. We went over the Amazon and their service-based development model, the way the model is driven by services and events. And then we had the ESG Part 1 discussion, environment, social, and governance, Part 1. The next mastermind, we are going to be doing ESG Part 2. MES Boot Camp, the next boot camp session, number 6, is Saturday, December 3rd. That's the last development session. We had the fifth one this past Saturday. Great session. I think everyone got to see this MES system come together. We got to build out our production model. We got to copy production lines. Everyone got a chance to see, this is what we've been building in this last session. And the next session, we kind of bring it all together and take it home. That's Saturday, December 3rd at 8:30, and that'll be another 4.5-hour session. And then the following Saturday, we will have a 2-hour Q&A. So everyone will have a chance to play with this MES system that they built, and then we'll do a 2-hour Q&A the following Saturday, December 10th at 8:30, where I'll answer any questions that have come up while you've been playing with this MES system you've built. And there's a quick reminder and a quick thanks to IIoT World that we were selected as one of the top 20 smart manufacturing and IoT podcasts in the country, or in the world, actually. All right. Comments, questions, concerns. So I got 6 or 7 comments from videos that I want to go over. So Eric Leak on the podcast, Why 80% of Digital Transformation Initiatives Fail. Eric Leak said, "Hey, Walker, keep doing what you're great at. I don't always agree with everything, only because some comments are not well suited for brownfield examples. Otherwise, I always appreciate how real you keep it, and you clearly do your homework. Similar to how tech is going through a correction, I hope those content creators who have no experience, aka mouthpieces, who have no original ideas, Stop wasting everyone's time. Eric, thank you for the nice comment. I just want to say that brownfield is probably the most difficult component of digital transformation. Excuse me, but I want to clarify. It's not so much brownfield, it's really more legacy. So brownfield with bleeding edge technology is fairly easy to integrate into a digital strategy. That is transform. But brownfield with legacy technologies is more problematic, especially when those that have no connectivity. What's a smart device again? It's smart and it has network connectivity. Smart means it can tell you stuff about itself. Okay, stuff that has like old serial connectivity, but no, it doesn't have the ability to be edge driven in any way, shape, or form. Those are more problematic. But I want to talk about the other content creators. One of the things that we've noticed is most content creators out there don't ask themselves the three most important questions. And I'm going to do a favor for other content creators out there. I watch a lot of content in the Industry 4.0 space. I am unimpressed with nearly all of it. There are, I have endorsed the people who I think do a good job. I've called them out in here. Hey, I really appreciate, like, I really love Tim Wilborn and the stuff Tim Wilborn does on the PLC side. I love Kutsai and the stuff Kutsai does at Industry 4.0 TV. There are a couple of other content creators out there that I truly enjoy, but the vast majority of the content that I see still misses the point. Okay. So I would just say two things here. Just if you're going to be doing content, okay, and I recommend everyone does. Okay, but do content in an area where you're an expert. Okay, so identify, this is the humility piece. What are you good at? What are you an expert at? Okay, and do it and be very, very specific about the content you cover. So say you were a barber, okay, don't just do a YouTube channel on barbering. Do a YouTube channel on skin fades. So only videos of doing skin fades on different head types or different hair types, right? Not, I'm just going to do all types of barbering. What you want to do is become the authority in a very, very specific niche, because the reason you don't have to be everything to everyone. One of the reasons that I don't do tricks in my digital media to build my following. There are people out there who have larger followers. They have more people following them, but it's because they've tricked people into following them. One of the things that we talk about here at 4.0 Solutions is we want to make sure that every single person who hits subscribe and follows us understands what we're saying and is a true believer. We want high quality audience, not high quantity audience. And the reason why is because I believe in the power of people. I believe that if you surround yourself with the right people, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. You surround yourself with the right people, okay? All of you will be elevated together. We're more than the sum of our parts. I firmly believe, if you look, our audience drives what it is we talk about. Okay, if you look at the evolution of our content, I can tell that our audience is getting smarter. That is, they're getting smarter on the subject, because I can draw an arc, okay, of the things that you learn over your digital transformation journey, and I can plot on that arc what subjects you're going to want to learn next. And we're about 60% of the way through that arc on this channel. So our audience has gotten smarter, and our audience has taken us to the next dot on the arc. Okay, so we know where we're going. Ultimately, we know eventually we're going to be doing content on augmented reality. Okay, we know that we'll eventually, and once our full audience has moved in that direction, okay, once they've moved up that arc, that's clearly where our content's going to end up. Right, we're at that ESG phase, right? So, and that's about 60% of the way through, right? So, a couple of pieces of advice. Number one, be an expert at what you're talking about. Okay, focus on the content. Okay, so be an expert, focus on that content, and then ask yourself 3 questions. Number one, what am I saying? Number 2, what is my audience going to hear? Those are not always the same thing. And number 3, what do I want them to say the takeaway is here? The biggest mistake content creators make, they try to sell something. Okay, we have products to sell. At IIoT.University, we have educational products. At Intelligent Integration, we sell services. We have products to sell. Do you know why we sell? We sell so that we have money to make a difference. That's it. I mean, we have to stay in business in order to help save and create middle-class jobs in the United States. But we don't actively sell. I believe that if I provide enough value to the audience is going to say, what else do you have to offer? That sales happen organically. The concept of always be closing in sales is a dated concept. The client is the one who closes for you. So stop selling in digital media. Don't sell. Content creators they're not, and moreover, they're just talking. They're not asking what is the value here. Here's the other thing. They're focusing on production quality first. Look at our first videos. Look at all of our early videos. They were garbage in terms of the production quality. But look at the views. Okay, there was a content creator I was following. I still follow him. He's based in North Carolina. It's called Gilbrook Farm. He used to own a digital media company, or he used to own a media company. He was like a documentary filmmaker guy. And he was doing a Q&A in one of his videos, and somebody had asked him, what technology are you using? Like what cameras, what lighting, what tripods? He's like, this is a broken ladder in front of me, and I'm using an iPhone 5S camera that has a broken screen. That's my camera. He goes, I have a good microphone. He goes, my recommendation to anyone who's doing content is focus on the content. The production quality means nothing. It's just not important. You could focus on it later. We did all this stuff, the bokeh effect and the high-end cameras. I mean, this is we've spent $25,000-$50,000 on this studio. I mean, I spent a lot of money on this studio. You guys you've only seen one shot from that new area over there. You haven't seen any shots from this area over here yet. We haven't filmed a damn thing there. We haven't filmed, because I'm focused on sitting in this chair and just providing value. We will produce over there, but we didn't focus on high production value until we realized we had something that people wanted to hear. So anyway, Eric, thank you very, very much for the kind words. We'll see better content out there once people start focusing on the value they're trying to provide others, and they trust that if they provide value to others, it will organically create opportunities for their businesses. Sweeper 240. So this was on the same video. So why 80% of digital transformation initiatives fail. This is a little longer comment, but it's really valuable. Sweeper 240 said, I agree 100% that this insane cancel culture is ludicrous at best. Canceling on pure principle only highlights that most of these people have no real principled thoughts or a sense of truth, the official accepted definition for all time. Take any of these crazy, hyper-opinionated but creatively hidden rationales to their farthest extreme, and based upon supposed principles, these people will all have to disown their closest loved ones, friends, and even their mother and father, simply because they might think differently on a relatively benign topic. Oh, there is such a thing as objective truth, but the problem is we can't own the truth. We can and should be aligned and seek truth. Sometimes this happens in the exchange of ideas, but I individually can say I hold dominion. I can't say I hold dominion over truth. This is why the weak insist on pushing the idea that they have a lived or personal truth that you must accept. Seeking the truth is difficult, much easier, and apparently more comfortable to desperately desire ownership and control over something, anything. It's this desperation that allows a person to contort their ability to reason and continually bounce from topic to topic in an effort rationalize a position without getting called out for a lack of depth in their thinking. All right. This is a really, really important subject here. We generally stay away from like politics and that kind of stuff the best we can. The problem is that this like wokeism and cancel culture is creeping its way even into digital transformation. Okay. Sometimes at the end user, and sometimes sometimes directly while you're working with a customer, and sometimes on a more theoretical level. Here is where cancel culture, how I use cancer culture and the woke movement to decide who I associate with. So 2 examples. And I think this is important. As leaders, I want to figure out if somebody is, if say I'm interviewing somebody to come work here or whatever, or I'm working with a client and I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to engage with this client. Okay, they're asking us to do some work for them, and I want to decide whether or not I'm going to engage with them. We had a very, very large customer who is a very famous multinational corporation who wanted us to work with them on digital transformation. Okay. We were talking about ESG the other day, and here's one of the challenges as it relates to digital transformation. Let me switch a slide. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I think it's valuable here. All right. Let's talk about one of the challenges you have with ESG. Okay. Under the social pillar of ESG, so from the World Economic Forum, if we wanted to use environment, social, and governance as ways of measuring the value of organizations and their contribution to society, under the social pillar, the World Economic Forum says that we need to be measuring things like health and safety, working conditions, employee benefits, diversity and inclusion, human rights, and impact on local communities. Okay? All right. The problem you run into here's the challenge we run into, is we don't agree as a society on what all the human rights are. So people who are pro-choice believe that a woman's access to abortion, some people believe that a woman's access to abortion as a contraception and healthcare is a human right. And there are people who don't agree with that. And it's not one or, there are large contingents on both sides of that discussion. Okay, that's a culture war we have. Diversity and inclusion. There are some people who believe that you include some by discluding others. Okay? And there are some people who believe that inclusion means just that we create an environment where all people are welcome under accepted mission and values. But then you have other people who believe that inclusion means you can only include by not including certain groups of people. Okay, so this would be an example of anyone who's posting a job posting, who is saying we're only going to hire a minority in this place, or we're only women need only apply. Okay. In a position that men could do, right? That's not inclusion. I mean, at least from the perspective of some people, that's not inclusion. That means that's inclusion by not including someone else. Okay. So one of the challenges we face here, okay, in digital transformation, one of the big challenges we face is the impact of social issues on business. One of the things I talked about in Mastermind last week is it's incumbent upon us as engineers, as architects, as leaders, to understand that the goals of inclusion and diversity and all of the social goals that we have are part of what we achieve when we're climbing our second mountain. And the first mountain is all about making enough money, remaining viable, so that we can attempt to climb the second mountain. Digital transformation for most organizations is about climbing that first mountain. Where the woke cancel culture comes in, what do I do in those cases? Okay. Number one, I don't include anybody. Anyone who decides that they want to cancel, they believe that canceling people is a good strategy for achieving an organization's goals. They're fools. Okay. Hold on, let me. They're fools. Okay. What I do though, we had. I'll tell a quick story here. We were working for this large multinational organization, and we're a faith-based organization here. You don't have to be a Christian to work here, but we operate our business on Christian principles. Okay, I'm a Christian. I believe in absolute truth. I believe in objective truth. Okay, I didn't just roll out of bed, hit my head on the floor, and somehow I was this ignorant fool who suddenly believed that there's objective truth out there. I mean, I was a 20-year journey for me. Okay, I personally believe it requires a lot more faith to believe in that this is a result of just purely random outcomes than it is to do a literary and historical analysis of the Bible, and come to the conclusion that really the absolute objective truth and absolute truth comes down to the three questions. Did Jesus exist? Did he say he was God? And was he resurrected? And I believe that the evidence, if you do a literary analysis, a historical analysis, you read the apologetics, you look at archaeological results, you read the Bible cover to cover, you come back to the answer to those three questions are, yeah, this guy Jesus existed. Yes, he did say that he was God, and yes, he was resurrected. Okay, so now it's just, was the guy crazy? Well, if he was crazy, how did he get resurrected? Okay, so in literary analysis is the one that sort of proves the point that, hey, this guy was raised from the dead. Okay, and I'm not going to fight that, but I believe in objective truth. Okay, so once you believe in objective truth, once you believe, hey, we're here for a reason, this isn't random, there's a point to this life. Okay, and there is right and wrong that we all know. There's some right and wrong that's gray, but there's a lot of right and wrong that's black and white, and all of us agree on it from the moment we're born. Children don't kill each other. Why? Because they know murder's wrong. Okay, so, and where did they come from? I didn't teach my kids by the time they were 3 not to kill anyone. In fact, I didn't teach my kids not to kill anyone ever. At no point did I tell my kids it wasn't okay to murder someone. But yet, somehow they knew not to strangle other kids at daycare. Okay? This organization we were working with was pushing values that we don't believe in as an organization. And one of our employees reached out to us via email, and he said, hey, he was working with this client, and he said, hey, I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt the company. I believe in the mission. I don't want to do anything to hurt the company. I need to know from you guys, the executive leadership team, whether I should start looking for another job. And here's why. You guys have me working with this company who is espousing values I don't believe in. I don't answer to them. Walker, I don't even answer to you. I answer to God. I answer to my Lord. Okay? And I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt your company, but I also can't do what goes against my beliefs. And if they're gonna force me to do A, or they're gonna force me to do B, or they're gonna force me to say C, and you're gonna back them up, I can't stay here. And I replied to him and I said, you won't be forced to do any of those things. Okay, what we're gonna do, I believe inclusion and diversity is about mutual respect. So you will not be forced to refer to anyone in any specific way any more than we're going to insist that the client refer to you as master and brother in Christ. Okay? It's mutual respect. All right? And then we gradually, based on that company's public stances, we gradually phased out our engagement with them. We made the choice, based on our values, we're not going to work with them. I do the same thing with people. Okay? If I'm interviewing someone and they indicate to me that they are woke, Okay. And that they have positions that they cannot defend logically. They just have them because someone on TikTok or Instagram told them to have them. I don't hire those people. Okay? I don't want them on my team. I want the best ideas to win. I don't want you to implement some agenda. I want the best ideas to win. Let me say this. Racism is real. Bigotry is real. These things are real. Okay? But you don't fight evil with evil. You fight evil with good. You take the high road. Okay, you win the war of ideas. And I've done this a million times in my life. I've had lots of people who believe the exact opposite of me. And the only thing I had to get them to agree on was that they wouldn't take their ball and go home. The only thing I had to get them to do was agree that they wouldn't take their ball and go home. And if they committed to not taking their ball and going home, over time, through normal Socratic discussion, asking questions to get down to an answer, asking them questions about what they believe, I would walk them to the conclusion that they didn't know why they believed what they believed. And that if they were forced to support their ideas logically, with reasoning, they couldn't. And do you know where every single person ends up? If you can just have those conversations, if you can just get them to not take their ball and go home, or use their power to shut me up, that's woke and cancel culture, then the best ideas will win. Okay? And I put that in here. This is a really important piece. This is Thanksgiving week, right? And the reason I'm answering this question and why we're having less technical discussions this week is because this is a week where I generally try to take this entire week off. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year. It's not even close. If I'd trade every other holiday in the year for just that one day, that Thanksgiving day. Thanksgiving is the one day a year where the only thing I'd like to see changed about Thanksgiving Day is I would like us as Americans to agree that everyone's going to have dinner in just one place. In our family, we don't allow multiple dinners on the same day. So we do one big dinner. You drive to a place one time, and that's it. You don't hit 3 or 4 different dinners. Okay? I would like to see that change. Thanksgiving is the one day a year where it's just about the 3 greatest words in American history: food, family, and football. I grew up, every single evening was Thanksgiving when I was a kid. Like every single evening was my family, the 7 of us, the 5 kids and my 2 parents, spending every evening together from 5 o'clock until 8 or 9 p.m. every single night, the 7 of us, Monday through Friday. And the weekends is kind of when we did our things, but Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday for sure, the 7 of us were together from 5 o'clock at night until 9 p.m. And if I had practice, or one of my brothers had practice, or my sister had practice, it would be from 5:30 when we got home from the 5 o'clock bus. That doesn't happen today. Right? We would watch the news together, and then we'd have dinner, we'd watch the news, we watch the local news, and we watch the national news. Then we watch MASH at 7. We watch a game show at 7:30, and then whatever was on TV that night. And we do it as a family, and we talk about whatever subjects came up. Okay? Thanksgiving it takes us back to that time. It forces us to just be near one another. And one of the things that we do on Thanksgiving is we go around the table when we're eating, and I ask everyone to tell me what it is they're thankful for. Tell me what you're thankful for. Just take take the next 3 minutes out of this year to tell all of us what it is you're thankful for. Here's what I'm thankful for. One of the big things I'm thankful for. I am thankful to be born in the United States of America. I'm thankful for being born in the one nation in the West that guarantees the right to free speech. Because it is through free speech that the best ideas win. And I mean this applies to digital transformation. If I have to use my political clout, I have to use my respect within the industry, but my standing within the industry to be able to communicate my ideas. When I talk, people listen because of my reputation. But as a leader, it's my job in a position of leadership to create an environment where all ideas get shared. So, including the ideas from the people who don't have the clout yet. That's what our Constitution guaranteed for us. As long as we have free speech and we have opportunity, which we do, if you can't succeed in the United States, you can't succeed anywhere. I mean, that's the big thing you need to ask yourself. If you're struggling, I'm in the U.S. The problem is not where you live. The problem's a you problem. It's probably right down to one of these three things: discipline, respect, or hard work. Do you have the discipline to do what you have to do when you don't want to do it? Do you respect the institutions and the people that came before you? And can you work harder than other people? Can you get more out of the same hour than someone else does? We have opportunity, we have free speech. And with that, the best ideas can win. And I'm thankful for that. Incredibly thankful. Why am I so against the, wokeology and cancel culture? Because the woke movement isn't about rational ideas. It isn't about the best ideas. It's about feeling. And cancel culture is about taking your ball and going home. Or using your power to shut other people up. If you want to shut other people up, win the war of ideas. All right. Yogesh, we'll get into the technical stuff now. So Yogesh said, and this was on the common objections to digital transformation video. He said, at 737, Walker, you are right about the knowledge of quality being a key objection when dealing with quality department, but that applies to all departments. So in that video, I said one of the common objections you get is, a really good example would be from the quality department. They will say, well, what do you know about quality? Why should I listen to you when it comes to digital transformation? What do you know about quality? This is the most common objection you get from the quality department. You also get the same thing from the IT department, right? I believe in people, right? So I wouldn't generally take a position, what the fuck do you know? Like I wouldn't generally take that position. I would take that position if you should know better, but you're intentionally acting like you don't. I would say, what the fuck do you know? Okay. He says, but that applies to all departments. Product or service quality is solely placed upon the quality team in any company. And digital transformation makes the biggest impact on product quality as it deals with systems, thereby making an impact at all levels in the organization. Agreed. No company sells quality, by the way. Quality is important, but that isn't what you're selling. You're selling products. Chickens. Chicken Z. This was on the Yes, OEE is powerful and useful video. He said, what are Microstops? So in there, I talked about Microstops. This is a really important point from a technical perspective, and you understand Microstops. Microstops are things that we often see in linear manufacturing processes. So where I have one cell that feeds into another cell that feeds into another cell linearly. So I have a thing that comes into a production cell and then it goes out of a production cell and it goes into another one directly. There's no surge capacity, or if there is, it's minimal. Microstops are the short stops and resumption of those individual cells. And many organizations, when you ask them to define a downtime event, and in this specific example I was talking about, this client called any stop that was less than 5 seconds long not a downtime event. Okay? So, and the reason why was because their standard cycle time was 8 seconds. So the standard cycle time for their process was around 8 seconds. And so if they had any downtime event that was, they picked 5 seconds. I don't know where the number 5 came from. I don't know why it wasn't 8, but they picked 5 seconds. They said any downtime event that is 5 seconds or shorter, we're going to ignore. It's not a downtime event. Okay. Well, the problem there is the same problem. There's a chart I saw the other day, which I just laughed at, which was someone was trying to apply ESG from the World Economic Forum, the environmental piece, their greenhouse gases. They were trying to apply a greenhouse gas metric to individual programming languages. And they had C and C++ were they had the least greenhouse gas emissions, and Python had one of the highest, right? Okay. That I don't know how they measured it. I'm not sure how they did that. But let's, for the sake of argument, let's say we trust how they measured it. The question is whether or not that's important, and the reason why is this: you script in Python a lot less than you do. It takes a lot less time to script in Python than it does in C or C++. So there are other elements of measuring greenhouse gases, like how many meals did I have to eat while I was writing the C and C++ code versus Python, right? The point is that the thing that's missing is the permutation. It's the iterative impact of an event. A microstop, for example. If I say a microstop that is 5 seconds or shorter is not an actual downtime event, misses the point that 5 second event could indicate something else that leads to a major event. So to argue that we're not even going to consider it a downtime event at all, it means nothing, is folly. It's not seeing the forest through the trees. A microstop is a short event, a short downtime event in a production process. And generally it's one that is so short. Microstops are generally so short that we think they're negligible, but they are not. They indicate other issues generally. Jay Thompson, he said, Walker, goddamn, you're a great presenter. I'm new to OPC-UA. Am I wasting my time learning it? And should I go learn SQL and MQTT? So I said, Jay, thank you. I recommend you learn all three. In our mentorship program at IIoT.University, we have all of the mentees learn SQL, Python, and Ignition, MQTT, and OPC-UA during step 1. It's hard to get the complete picture of industrial communications and IT-OT convergence without them all. Blessings to you. Yeah, this is a good question. Yes, you should. Thank you, Jay, for the presenter comment. You're not wasting your time learning OPC-UA. Yes, you should go learn SQL and MQTT. Okay. You should also learn Spark-Plug-B. You should learn ISA 101. You should learn ISA 95. There are many other things you should learn too. Part of the reason we created the mentorship program, where we teach engineers how to be Industry 4.0 professionals, is because it's not easy to just give someone a list of things and tell them, go learn these. You want them to learn them in a specific order, and you want them to put all those pieces together, which we do in the practical. We want them to put all those pieces together so they understand the implication and how they interoperate. But good question. Thank you. And then the last one from Reese, under the UNS and data historian's role. This is a video that Zach did, I think, like last year. But he said, why are the client tools reading from the historian? Is the point not to get rid of that point-to-point connection and to have the client tools also read from the UNS? or will clients still read from historians and MES databases and from OPC? Okay. In general, the clients are going to read from the UNS. Remember, digital transformation's a journey built on a strategy. Okay. It's a journey with no destination. Okay. There's a purpose, but there's no destination. The answer is in 80 to 90% of the cases, all consumers will consume from the UNS. But that doesn't mean you're going to eliminate every point-to-point integration. Okay? There are many reasons why you might want to use a specialized client tool from a specialized smart node in a specific use case. But in general, you're using the UNS 80 to 90% of the time. Will there come a time where all tools are consuming from the UNS? 99% of them. Yep, absolutely. All right, I want to close with this. Back to the Thanksgiving thing. I want to say a happy birthday, Gretch, if you ever see this. Number two, even if you're not in the United States, Thursday, our whole team is going to be given, everyone's going to be given thanks. I just want to say what I'm thankful for. I want to close with what I'm thankful for. And I hope you guys stay on here. First and foremost, I'm thankful for my family. And when I say family, I don't mean just the people who are blood related to me. I mean the people who we're all working towards a common mission and we're operating on common values. I'm incredibly thankful for my kids. I'm thankful for the health of everyone I love. I'm thankful for my team. I'm thankful for my mentors. I'm thankful for this community. I'm thankful for the opportunity that's been given to us to have a positive impact on the world. Okay. But mostly I'm thankful for all of the failures, all of the challenges, all of the sleepless nights, all of the times that I didn't think I was going to be able to figure it out. Because it's through proving to myself that I did figure it out, that I developed the confidence to try and pass on to the rest of the world, for better or worse, that which I've learned over the course of my career, and I will continue to do that until the last day I work. So with that, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below. That helps the most if you comment down below. Please put down below what it is you're thankful for, please. And we will see you guys in the next one.